Welcome to Less House More Moola podcast. I'm Laura Lynch, a certified financial planner professional and your host. For me, alternative or tiny living is more than just a lifestyle of minimalism or lower cost housing. It allows me to live a life aligned with my values. And as of October 2024, it also allowed us to become 100% debt and mortgage free. If you are looking for alternatives to the conventional path because you want to be more financially resilient and kinder to the earth, you have found the right podcast. So hit that subscribe button because new episodes are out every Thursday. Well, Payton Bendure, thank you for joining me today on Less House More Moola podcast. We were just catching up before I hit record, and you have got so much going on. So I'm super excited to break it down because you're in the early stages of this thing, and there's so many people out there who want to be in the early stages, and you can have that really window of insight into what it's like in the early days. So thanks for being here.
Of course. I'm super excited. Thank you so much for having me. I'm so glad we got connected and can, chat. And I'm excited just for all the info I can hopefully share with people that are starting out and they're like, hey, I'm on this journey or I've thought about it and I'm like, go do it, because your family is going to be afraid of it. Your friends are going to cheer you on. And then you're like, okay, now what do I do?
Yeah, it's so good because you have to fight against sort of the social norms and the pressures, and you have to
Yeah,
chart your own path. And what does that look
absolutely.
like for you? So super excited. So let's just get it up front and let people know what you do for work and where they can find your work, because that's really important. It's a
Yes,
key part of what
it
you're
is.
doing.
Yes. And I always say too, and I'm sure we'll get into this later, but God has been shaping this opportunity for us for a very long time. Lots of doors closed, windows open, or just things shut completely. But yeah, my business is one just avenue of just how this has been shaped for us. So I'm a social media marketer and strategist. I run Payton B Virtual Solutions. You can find me on Instagram right now, and it's just at Payton B Virtual Solutions. Website is down, working on that. We're all a work in progress, right? I'm building some other things right now, and then website will be back up. But yeah, so I help small businesses that are passionate about what they do just articulate that through social media and just create visibility and bring in new connections, new leads, help them build a community, help them build a relationship so that then they can comfortably go and talk to those people and help them, with whatever industry, or in service they provide.
So we'll come back to that for sure. But let's just also say that you are in between homes at the
My
moment,
word.
like
Yes,
in
this
an
is not my house.
Airbnb, right?
Yeah.
In an Airbnb. You just sold your house and you're building
Skoolie.
building a
So crazy to
schoolie.
say. Yep.
Yeah. So you're right in the thick of it. Let's go back in time though. What was home like for you growing up?
Oh gosh, growing up, it was busy. It was, I had the typical parents who they worked both full-time jobs, both in the medical industry, firefighter, paramedic, EMT, all that kind of stuff. Don't ask me the difference between a paramedic and an EMT because I don't know. Um, but yeah, so just typical home life. Home life. I have a twin sister, and then a younger brother. So they lived with us full time, and then I have two older half sisters that I grew up with and saw occasionally too. So very typical childhood, nothing super crazy. We went on just the normal family beach vacations or Tennessee vacations. Went to Disney World once. And it's funny, I don't know if you've heard this from people from Ohio, but we will drive anywhere and everywhere. We don't care. We're like, oh, 20 something hours to Florida? Sure, let's go. We will drive before we fly. And so I feel like that's just an integral part of our story, yes, we could travel to all these future destinations, but I'm in Ohio and I would just rather drive.
And so you just had a regular old suburban house? Did you live in town or?
So I lived in a very small town. It's called East Canton. It's literally 2 miles long, very small population. It's not even a city. It's not a township. It's a village is what it's called. So I'm sure there's some sort of size requirement for it to be called a village. But yeah, very small rural school. You had tractor day. Everybody was out for 4-H. I was not in any of that because we lived just on the edge of town. So we couldn't have any chickens or anything like that, which I had dreamed of, which will be in future plans. We had chickens for a bit, but I can't wait to find where we land and get my full homestead and just really like dive into that. But that's a future Payton and Adam story. So yeah, nothing super crazy. I mean, just normal small school. Like my graduating class was 60 people. So just very like small, tight-knit community.
And you jumped into home ownership like really early in life. So talk about that.
Yeah, so long story short, my husband and I met sort of when I was 18. So he was in the military, met when he came back on leave. We got married very quickly. That is a podcast and a conversation for another day over a glass of wine, probably. And then we were in Hawaii for a little bit as he was finishing up his time there. And so I was in Hawaii with him for about 3 months right after we got married. And then we came home somewhat unexpectedly. He had like a medical injury. So we knew we were leaving. We just didn't know when. And so we came home and stayed with family for a bit. We lived with my grandparents for about 6 months because they're like, oh, hey, we're going to chapter you out super quick. All honorable, like I said, medical injury, like nothing bad going on. But they're like, hey, we're going to send you home before the holidays. And I'm like, what? So they did all of his like paperwork and stuff in a week when it usually took a month. So we're like, we got to find somewhere to live. We had no savings. We had no idea what was going on. We're like, I guess we're going back to Ohio, which reminded me to bring up Hawaii later because that's a hard thing for us too. But yeah, so we moved back to Ohio in January and it was freezing, going from 80s and humidity to absolutely, I'm pretty sure we landed in a snowstorm or pretty close. And then jumped into apartment ownership, right? Or rental for about a year. And we wanted a dog. We wanted to mow the grass. We were very much go-getters. We wanted to do all the things. So we bought our first house. I was 20 years old and my husband was 21, I think. 22? Yeah, he might have been 22. I can't remember. But yeah, very early 20s, like buying our first house. And it was a very modest house in just a very low key area. But let me tell you, I will miss that $500 house payment because it was just a, normal time in the market, nothing crazy going. This was in 2018. So like housing market was just chill. There wasn't many options. There wasn't much on the market, especially for a first time home buyer. So yeah, a lot of lessons there and just like the maintenance and the going house broke because, oh, we bought the new couch. Oh, we bought the table. We wanted all these things. Only 7 years later to get rid of all of those things.
Yeah. So why? What about home ownership? I mean, you achieved the dream that everybody, can't get right now. What about it wasn't working for you?
So it was the area. We weren't in a super great area of town and we weren't in the middle of nowhere. And that's where we wanted to be. Like I want to be in nature. I want to have land to do a huge garden, and to entertain and to, like just literally sow the oats, right? Like just do all the things. We want farm animals. We did have chickens for a little bit in the city, which was fun. So that tugged on like that homestead heartstring a little bit, which was so fun. But yeah, just God had bigger plans, right? He's like, okay, we're going to shift some things a little bit for you and let us do the whole Skoolie life.
So you decided that homeownership where you were wasn't
Yes.
working for you. And
Mhm.
so the segue or the stepping stone to the homesteading life that you want is a schoolie?
Yes. Actually almost a year ago to the day. It was end of May, early June. We wanted to plan a trip this year to Utah. We had been watching people we've been watching travel people for years. Travel internationally and then of course travel in the States with COVID and all of that. Van life, that's when that became the craze, right? So we're like, oh man, so we've had visions, right, of what travel would look like for us. But we have dogs, so we're like, okay, international travel, probably not on the to-do list right now. But we really wanted to go out west. So once we were like paying off debt, hitting a certain goal by this time this year, we're like, let's celebrate. Let's go on a, 2-week Utah trip. Like, I can't remember if we were going to drive or fly. I don't remember. But what I do remember is it was going to cost like 6 or 8 grand. And I don't even think that was food. I think that was like maybe flights or gas. We were going to rent a camper van, see the national parks, go do all the things like the way we wanted to do it. Right. Cause like, why go rest your head in a hotel when you can just live in a camper van for a couple days? That was our thoughts anyway. Like, let's go see everything, especially like the dark zones for all the stars and all that cool stuff. So when I realized the price, I was like, why don't we just hit the road? I had looked into our house value and stuff like that with a real estate agent earlier that year and knew what our equity was at the time. And I was like, this could, this is where all of this could go, right? Like we at this time, I think we were just talking about built like kind of renoing an RV. I think honestly, I can't even remember anymore. And because there's just been so much since then. So I posed it to my husband. I was like, here's where our finances stand. Here's where we're at now with our debt payoff and all of these things. Like, how can we make this happen? And he was like, you're crazy. This isn't, no. It took me 3 days of just like yammering on to convince him just to be open to it. Started budgeting, started making a list. We had a whiteboard of here's all the things we need to do here, like check off by December, right? So we had 6 months to get X debt paid off. And we did a lot of work to our house, even more so this year to get it ready to sell, but like just stuff we already knew needed done. I don't even know what else is on the list, to be honest. A lot of it was just financially focused, and then house focused. And okay, like then we need to go through clothes and we need to go through housewares. And of course, that was all more recent stuff. But yeah, and in December, we didn't hit like the financial goal I needed to have for us to live on the road. And so we just kind of made peace of not right now. Like, so I ordered wildflowers and tulip bulbs and all the things because I'm like, we're just going to have the wildflower garden of our dreams this summer. Like, we're just going to be here, stay put. Well, God had other plans, some other things, other circumstances changed. And my husband came home one day and he was like, why don't we just hit the road? And I said, I was thinking the same thing, like 100%. So we're like, all right, let's make this happen. And that was end of February. So it has just I said blossomed, exploded. I'm not really sure. One of the two since then. But it's just been a great experience. We've had such supportive friends the entire time. We told a couple people about this time last year, like, hey, this is what we're thinking. And to have those friends still be with you, and to see just everything coming alive. Like my two best friends, they're like, my goodness, like you guys are so close. Like you guys are actually doing this. Like you're going to be living in a school bus. And they're like, does that freak you out? I'm like, honestly, haven't even thought about it. Like we were just, it's surviving every day.
So let's just go back. So you first decided that you were going to make this leap how long ago?
It was about a year ago. We were planning to, so that it was end of May, early June last year. And we knew we wanted to hit the road in June of this year, which technically we still are. June 27th, we'll be on the road. But yeah, we thought like sometime in June, we'll hit the road. We'll give it a year to plan everything out.
Yeah. So 1 year. So you put like a whiteboard up a year ago and you
Yes.
started checking off financial goals about a year ago. And then in December, you're like, I don't know if we're going to make it or not. And so then in February, like things turned around and you're like, okay, we're full steam ahead.
Yeah. And to be honest, it wasn't even financially things changed or improved. It was just other circumstances out of our control. And we're like, okay, this is our sign. Like, this is our window. It was with my husband's job and things are fine. It's all good. Ended amicably. But it was just the business needed to go in a different direction. And we're like, okay, this is fine. Like, this works for us. So he was able to work through end of May. And be able to support his boss and the small business he was running. And then like, all right, you just take the reins back. So it really worked out kind of for everybody where his boss needed to be in his business, where we need to be just personally. Because we want to be, we want to be out of Ohio, but nothing personal. We want more. I want the Red Rock. I want the, picturesque landscape. Ohio is all trees and maybe some rolling hills, but like we just want more.
And it's so great that we have, a country with so much diversity where you can go
Absolutely.
experience more and decide what is deeply fulfilling to you from a landscape position,
Oh, for
situation.
sure. For sure.
That's awesome. So you became aware of, van life and, people traveling full time back when that became a thing during the pandemic. How did you come to bus?
So yeah, we started out with an RV plan. So we had a pop-up camper before. So we kind of knew what we would get into somewhat in an RV reno. So we're like, get something cheap, older, because they can just kind of drive forever, right? Or drive so far, mileage wise. And the build, like, so actually, well, I say that now, but the build cost wasn't that much more initially, right? Estimated than what we thought, than what like the Skoolie would be. But so we started out with an RV. We drove out to I don't even know. We drove somewhere in Ohio. It's 2 or 3 hours away to go look at one. And then we're like, but it had been really the first time we'd seen an older one, right? Like not a fifth wheel. This would be a drivable Class C, maybe sometimes a Class A, but like the one we went and saw in person, we're like, there's just no room. Like you're on top of each other. It's like meant for a weekend drive. Like it's not meant to be lived in full time, which is truly the case with all campers. Like they're not meant to be lived in full time. So you kind of have to adjust for that. And it would have been a total redo. Plus with the age, I forget, it was like a 90s Class C maybe. And with the age of it, like there was seals issues. What else? There was just like water damage and just like a lot of normal wear and tear, but like was going to be super expensive or detrimental if you didn't fix it. So we drove home that weekend. Like we thought we were getting an RV. We're like, oh, if it looks good as it did in pictures and drives as well, this will be great. It was not great. And it was listed at very high price. And we're like, we just can't. So we drove home really bummed. And I want to say the next day, my husband was on Facebook Marketplace and I said, I know exactly what you're doing. And he's like, what? I'm like, you're looking at Skoolies. And he was like, well, I mean, just because they run so well, they run for so long, like they're meant to be driven for hundreds of thousands of miles, you know? So they're just a lot more durable and the space is comparable to an RV or a fifth wheel. You don't have to worry about the seals because everything is just aluminum and, and just like fastened properly. Like you just don't, you have the shell, right? Like you don't have to worry about a lot of the things that you do with an RV or trailer or whatever you get. It is just made to last. So I'm like, if it's hauling kids to and from school for years and, to practices and meets and all that kind of stuff, like why can't it take us on the road? And the one thing I will say for anybody thinking about this, make sure you know what you're doing because we've watched a lot of people online, on Reddit, everywhere that have Skoolies and they don't know anything about a diesel engine. They don't want to like learn to fix things. And so they almost stop traveling or get something else because they're like, it's so expensive to get this diesel engine fixed. Thankfully, my husband already has a vehicle that is diesel and I know nothing. But he, he is just so mechanically inclined. He does all the work on our vehicles anyways. And so he's figuring it out. But that's like the one thing, like if you are going to go that way with a Skoolie, like be ready and willing to do the work yourself. Because if not, you're going to pay an arm and a leg to have somebody else do it. And to find a diesel mechanic that can put it on lifts and all that, like it's just a whole other ballgame. So that's my 2 cents.
I think that is a really good point, that maybe think about your strengths already or your curiosities. It's kind of like YouTube is the world of the DIY, right? We can learn to do anything there, but what is it you're willing to spend your time researching and digging
How much are you willing
into?
to pour into it? Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's a really good point. And so help me connect. You are going from sort of a traditional life in the terms of, having bought a house, and now you have this homestead chicken vision for your future. How is the bus getting you there? Hey, you know how in the tiny and alternative living community, we're always talking about parking challenges? Well, Eric and I want to help with that. This is why we're opening up 2 parking spaces on our land in northern New Mexico. In addition to the amazing scenery, hiking, rafting, exploring, and the cool artist community, you will have access to the shared resources to fix any problems you might have encountered on your rig. For all the details on parking and problem solving, check out episode 88 of this podcast and then go to altamericandream.com to send us a request for parking.
Yes. Oh my gosh, that's such a great question. So our overall goal, I would say, with traveling in the Skoolie, is going to be finding our forever home. We've always wanted to travel. We've always wanted to be out west. And so now we get to travel and see all these amazing places that are hopefully untouched, right? Like I want to visit the small town people just drive through, right? Like in Ohio, no one knows about East Canton. You know about Cleveland, Columbus, and Cincinnati. Well, I want to dive into those little towns and all the states, and just find ideally find like a Stars Hollow Gilmore Girls kind of vibe. But yeah, we really want to be in the middle of nowhere. We want land to build that homestead. And I mean, yeah, we could have gone to Utah for a couple weeks and dropped eight grand or more now, who knows? But you're not going to get the vibe of really those towns, like, because you're just driving from point A to B trying to, beat the crowds at Arches National Park or wherever you go. So it's just a little more intentional. And it gives us the freedom to explore a little bit too. So that's what I'm most excited about. And it's kind of how it all started too. We knew we wanted to always, since we've been, first married, we always wanted to just travel more. Um, Never got the opportunity for with work, or there was always layoffs or something going on that we never got vacation time or never got to use our vacation time for vacation. So we're like, here's our opportunity. Here's every day is going to be the ultimate vacation. And then we're going to find our forever home. And hopefully, I mean, that gives us more options too. We can buy land and live on it with the Skoolie and build or do whatever. Like, we can do so many different things with that flexibility. You're not going to move somewhere and then, oh, we don't have a house or we don't have a place to stay. It gives you a lot more flexibility. But yeah, I don't know if that answers your question, but that's kind of how things are connected for us.
So the bus is going to take you to the places where you're not going to be a tourist, and you're just going to get to experience what the vibe is like in these places until you find one that you really like. And then maybe you'll figure out what the next steps are in terms of settling in a new place. It's kind of like the wagon trains,
Yeah. Oh my
right?
gosh. Yeah. Or almost it was just like a forever field trip too. Like every day is a field trip to go explore something new.
Yeah, that's awesome. So you launched a business in order to support income while you're on the road, right?
Well, so I've actually had this for 3 years. So I started Payton Bendure Virtual Solutions like 3.5 years ago. And just out of necessity, out of truly just a series of unfortunate events, personal and business and school and all those things. But yeah, now it gives me the freedom that I can work from wherever. I'm no one else's boss but my own. And I just can connect with amazing people too. So it's my hope that while we're traveling, again, in the works, need the brain space, that I can offer like in-person content meetups and things like that as we travel state to state. So be on the lookout for that because that's in the works. And by in the works, I mean it's in my head and it's on paper a little bit. But yeah, just to like gives me the opportunity to connect with incredible business owners all over the US. So I'm super excited for that and to meet clients in person and friends in person that you're just internet besties. So that's super exciting too.
That's really cool. So when you think about how you've sort of transitioned your career into the self-employment piece and, being working remote, a lot of us, right, who are in alternative living end up, making that choice.
Yeah.
How do you think that sort of plays into the overall what's going on in the labor market as in terms of job availability? And like you said, you've been through a lot of layoffs or there's been a lot of transition in career. Do you think that this move to self-employment, which came before the travel plan, is really like just a function of the time that we're living in?
Yeah, I think it really could. I mean, or at least in my world, right? Because I mean, I knew a couple people like, oh, they were photographers or just little, I don't want to say little businesses, but like just the typical, I would say self-employed businesses. But I had no idea like the VA world, the social media world, the copywriter world, like it's a whole new in like whole new industries I didn't know even existed, right? Like the only people that I knew worked from home were engineers or sometimes, therapists, counselors, all that kind of stuff. But yeah, I think it's a product of just like where the world's at now too. And just the availability and it puts your job in your hands. Like I'm responsible for the money that I make. And it's stressful, but it's also comforting. No one else is, in charge of that. I'm not gonna randomly fire myself or, or unjustly fire myself or lay myself off. Like it's up to me to figure it out too.
From a risk perspective, having multiple clients can be viewed as less risk than having one client, aka an employer, right?
True.
When you have an
Oh,
employer,
absolutely.
one person may control your entire future trajectory and whether or not you can pay your mortgage. Whereas if you're cultivating a client base, then if you lose one client, you have many other clients.
Yeah. Yeah.
So it's a risk shift that I think people don't necessarily think of. But
For sure. Yeah, and it takes time and blood, sweat, and tears and late nights, but also the people I talk to on a daily basis are business owners. And who would have ever thought, right? Like two of my best friends, three of my best friends that I've met in the past year or so have all been through networking communities and we're all business owners. And it's just the commonality, but it's unmatched friendships and unmatched relationships that I would have never had otherwise. I may have never met these people. And again, they're all over the states too, which is wonderful. But yeah, it's people you would have never met otherwise. And they're in the same boat as you, whether it's accounting or, fractional CFO, like whatever those areas are. It's just other people in your space that you can collaborate with, you can connect with, you can vent with, all the things because they understand it, which a lot of people in the typical working world don't get that for sure.
So that brings up another topic that you and I had talked about before when we first met, and that is your vision for community. And you've already touched on it a little bit in terms of having maybe meetups with
Yeah.
people as you travel, but talk about what your hopes are for being on the road and community.
Oh my gosh. Honestly, I'm so excited for it. So I don't know about you, but like my 20s were ridiculous with friends. Like you had people coming into your lives and then they leaving just as quickly as they appeared. It was hard for friends to stick around. We're all in different seasons of life. I got married very early, so I was the married one, right? While everyone's in college and out partying and doing all the things that you do in college. And my husband and I, neither of us had that traditional college route either. So we didn't have that core group of friends that, you saw every day, every week for 4 years. And so community has been something we both craved, even in our neighborhood. Like our neighbors weren't very friendly. Family is spread out. And so we kind of felt alone. Not in a bad way, just in a almost like solidarity kind of way. And so at the end of the day, right, whatever was going on in our lives, to me, it just needed to be me and my husband Adam. Like that was all that really mattered at the end of the day because he's my person that I'm gonna spend the rest of my life with. And it's slowly shaped us to, I think, be ready for build life now, right? We're 40 minutes to an hour away from family at the moment, and even farther when we're on the road. It sounds bad, but we're kind of okay with it. We're like, because at the end, because it's no different really than what we had before. It's not like we're leaving. Well, we're leaving some friends, but we want more community, right? We want more like-minded people to share our lives with. And so I'm super excited to have those relationships and build relationships. We met somebody actually 2 years ago when we were camping in our pop-up at Salt Fork, our favorite state park. Him and his wife had traveled for 7 years full time. And so we connected because we were walking our dogs and I saw they had beautiful German short-haired pointers. And I'm like, oh, we have to see them. And he was a business owner and they traveled for 7 years and we still talk on Instagram. We were actually touching base last week. And I'm like, look, we're doing it. We're doing the dang thing. And that's just a piece of the community I'm so excited to build. I mean, we see Skoolie Palooza. We see, oh, there was another one like Skoolie Palooza camper van kind of meetup. And I'm like, these are our people, like nobody gets it, right? Just like business world, no one's going to get it except for the people that are in those communities. So I'm super excited for the friendships that are going to blossom. And we always just make friends with people way older than us. And I'm like, there's some younger people, right? Traveling and camper vanning and all the things, but it's also people in retirement. And I joke with my husband, like, those are our people. Like, they're no drama, like they've lived life, they've had experiences and connect with us. So we have the same interests, we have the same dinner time, probably the same bedtime. Yeah, I'm excited for all the friendships. Like I think that's the most exciting thing. Like all the people we're just gonna meet along the way.
So you're just days away now from
Four or
launching
5
out.
years.
And you're gonna hit the road and the bus is not gonna be completely finished, right?
Probably not. Yeah. I don't even know where we're gonna end up, but we're just gonna have to go.
Yeah. And so you've kind of put this deadline around yourself and you're gonna go do the thing, whether it's perfect or not. Talk more about what happens on June 27th for you.
Oh my gosh, we leave the Airbnb and we head to a state park in Ohio first. That's going to be about 2 hours away from our home base, which is nice if we have to run back to our storage unit or if we, need crazy help, whatever that looks like. It's just a nice little segue right before we leave the state. So we're there for about a week. And of course, it's 4th of July weekend. So finding places to camp is challenging. We'll rarely be at campgrounds, but just starting out, I'm like, for it to get used to everything and all the solar and the water and all that kind of stuff. Just used to have restrictions a little bit. We're like, let's do campground. So if we run out of water or it's cloudy or stormy, like we have backups. Plus, of course, we have generators and stuff like that too. Just to help us ease into all the changes, like not only living in a bus with two dogs and, or just all the changes that come with full-time travel. But yeah, so we're close to home for a couple weeks, or for about a week to get used to everything. And then we head to Michigan. So that's our first stop. Took us 6 hours to plan that first leg. It was 1 week of, a couple days at a state park, a harvest host, a couple more days at a state park. And we're like, oh, that's all. That gets us to like July 5th. So we don't know what the rest of that looks like. We have a whole like map route listed, well, somewhat listed across the states of like, here's all the things we want to see so far. But no real plan other than Michigan and then staying at the top, like far north of the US through probably the end of summer and fall. And then hopefully spending winter, I would love in like Colorado, Utah, Arizona, because I have friends and clients there. And that's where we think we want to land. So we want to just spend most of our time there for a while.
Well, it's super exciting and it's great to like have this conversation at this moment in time because there's so much you don't know yet in terms of what the future holds. And yet you've done such a lot of prep work and you all are like in the thick of preparing your bus and your work and all and getting the dogs used to smaller spaces and all the
Yes.
things.
Yes. Yeah, they loved camping though, so I'm sure they will transition fine. I do want to say for anybody that's contemplating it, because we've talked to people, they're like, oh my gosh, I wish we could do that. That was us. We are not trust fund people. We are not fed with a silver spoon. We are very much bootstrapping all of it. We don't have that generational wealth to scoot us through life, especially the financially hard years of life in your 20s and 30s. So if you're thinking about it, like there's probably avenues that you can do it. It's just going to be uncomfortable. Like we spent all of last summer not eating out, no vacations, scraping every single penny, selling stuff on Facebook Marketplace, like all of the things to pay off debt to get us to where we needed to now, to make room. Okay, now more money can go to the bus. And now as we sold our house last week, we are consumer debt free, paid off student loans, all that fun stuff. So like you can do it. It's going to be uncomfortable. This whole thing is uncomfortable as of right now, let me tell you. But it's going to be so worth it. So if you're thinking about it at all, like just do the dang thing. That's what we keep saying. Like, or I said, why the hell not? Like, why wouldn't you want to go travel and see the beauty that God's created? Like I said, he's been shaping this for us for a really long time now. And he put it on our hearts to even go back to Hawaii at some point because we started out there newly married and we didn't explore at all. We were teenagers, 18 and 19 years old, had no idea to think about going on hikes or finding little, hole in the wall diners or food spots, whatever. We went to the mall and we walked around, walked to the beach. Like we could have done so much more. So it's kind of everything from this point on is just redemption for that. And maybe we'll come full circle one day back to Hawaii. But yeah, if you're thinking about it, just do it. Like figure it out. Look at the equity in your home, sell your car, like whatever you need to do. It's possible. It's a lot of work, but it's possible.
Awesome. I think that's a great message. This is a mantra that we have around here too is like life is short, you got to do the thing. You got
Yeah.
to do the thing because if you're waiting for age 67 to do the thing, you may not feel as good at
Oh, for
67 for
sure.
doing the thing. And we have these opportunities right now for working remotely or making a transition to work remotely if it's not possible and looking around.
There's so much work camping or door dashing or what like temporary jobs. Like, I mean, that for us, that's not ideal, right? To have to work full time on the road, but there's people that do that or they're camper hosts somewhere. Like maybe that's the route, maybe that's a more like less risk, more comfortable route for you. There's so many options. Like you have the paintbrush, right? Like you can paint the picture of what that's going to look like in your life and make it work.
Well, Payton, thank you so much for catching up with us at this moment in time and your journey. Where can listeners find and follow you both your bus build as well as your business?
Yeah, so bus is going to be just the @ symbol, Adam and Payton. So all spelled out, Adam and Payton. And then business is at Payton B Virtual Solutions.
I'll make sure those are in the show notes. Payton, thank you again. It was lovely to catch up with you. We wish you the best of luck. You got a couple of weeks. You're going to crank it out, and then you're going to do the thing that you've been wanting to do, and
Oh my gosh. Wild.
celebrating with you.
Doing the dang thing.
Less House More Moola podcast is created, hosted, and produced by me, Laura Lynch, here in my tiny house. I'm so grateful to you for being along on this journey with me. We are not alone in wanting to live a life that is more gentle on our earth and provides us with financial freedom. So when you have a conversation with someone else considering what alternatives are out there, make sure you share this podcast with them. Let's bring them along with us. Please see the show notes for an important disclosure regarding the Tiny House Advisor LLC in this episode.